Welcome back to another episode of NACOA's Lunchtime Lives, a series of interviews where I speak to people that have advocated for COAs and NACOA alike. These normally go out live on one of our social media platforms, and in this case it was on Instagram, and we spoke to the legend that is the NACOA patron, David Coldwell. This episode, for me personally, as a big fan of David's, as well as loving the work that he does for NACOA, was such an enjoyable interview to record. David's kind of way of talking and speaking his truth is just genuinely immeasurable. He kind of puts his neck on the line to just go out there and advocate for us in a way that I haven't really seen before. He talks a lot about his childhood experiences and how boxing kind of saved his life, and how he nearly found himself going down one route, and then boxing took him down the route where he was able to kind of have much more of a positive experience in his life. I think to see David in the position that he's in now, talking about his life in the ways that he does, I think offers so much hope and shows to us all that no matter what we've experienced, as David says, things can and will get better. Sit back and enjoy this interview. If this is the first time that you've ever been here, do make sure that you have subscribed and turned on the notifications so you know every time we post a new video. And I really hope that you take as much from this as I did. My connection just went funny, so I think it's come back. How are you, mate?
I'm all right, mate. How are yourself?
I'm all right. How's fight camp?
I've just arrived. I've literally had my COVID test about 45 minutes ago, so I'm stuck in my hotel room. I've not got the best of views, but it is what it is. But things like this will keep me going. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. How long do you have to wait until you get your?
It can be anything from the first fight camp. It was literally 24 hours. The second one, it seemed to be a bit shorter, probably about 16. But I'm hearing that now tests are getting quicker, so it could be tomorrow morning. It could be in the early tomorrow morning. I could be out. So normally it's usually all day we're in, and we'll let out the next morning. But it can be earlier.
So you got to stay in there on your own now till you get
on my
your
own.
result.
That's it. I'm in my hotel room on my own. Left to your own devices. You can't do anything. You have food delivered to the door. They can't come into any contact with it. They just knock on the door and then they disappear. You just go out, get your food, and that's it. And that's all we can do, really. So yeah, this is the hardest bit for me, because I don't like being sat doing anything, doing nothing anyway. I'm always active. I'm always doing something. So I've got in my hotel room. I've already blasted out. So I've set a challenge in my head. I'm gonna do 1,000 press-ups today. So I've already done 150 already. So I'm just gonna do every hour, blast out some press ups. So by the end of today, I've hit my 1,000. So I've done a good session, a good training session, and also it's a little bit of a challenge for my mind. So I'm not just like stuck in when we're left to my own devices.
Yeah, because it must be nervous as well. Because obviously you've got to hope that you or Hopi or anyone else in the team doesn't get.
I mean, listen, we get tested basically every week because of we're elite classes elite athletes. So we have to carry on training for this fight tonight. Jordan's fighting next week, so we have to carry on training. And anybody that comes in to spar with us, we get a test. Make sure they have a test. I see the test's result when they text it me through. Then they're allowed to come up and spar, and so we keep on top of that. So last week I had a test, everything was fine. Now we'll see now today, and that's the nerve-wracking bit, is because there's so many fights that have fallen through because when they come to fight camp and then they get tested, they're getting a positive test result back, and you've come all the way through training camp, working hard, doing everything that you're doing, and then you're at the fight, you're making weight for the fighters, and somebody fails a test and the fight's off, and that's a disaster. So that is a nerve-wracking bit. If you get it, can Hopi still fight? No, because what's been at me is because then what's been happening so far is because even like the Cutsman or something like that fails a test, then the fight's been fallen through because have you been around him? Do you know what I mean? And which you have. So that's how it's been working so far. Obviously the last fight camp were a few months ago. Things might have changed. I'm not sure on that, but no, I don't think so.
All right, cool. Well, listen, we got probably there's going to be a lot more boxing fans in here than the normal Nakoa lives that we do, right? So I know you sometimes get some lively people in the comments as well. So which you deal with very, very well, by the way. But for the people that are watching from Nakoa, yeah, can you just tell us a little bit about who you are? Very like introduce yourself and what you do because they might not know.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, which will be a lot of you, I'm a professional boxing coach and a professional boxing manager, and I also work Sky Sports as a pundit as well on their shows, on live events.
Yeah. Okay, good. You're very, very humble as well. Very don't big yourself up as much as I would big you if I introduced you.
Yeah, yeah.
Of course, of course. Listen, so why don't I want to keep today focused? You've got like half an hour, yeah? So I'm not going to keep you.
Mate, I've literally got all the time in the world. So whatever you need, whatever you need, you've got.
You are actually. I've got a little bit longer now actually because my 1 o'clock has moved. So we'll see how we go. But I want to keep today focused on because what I really like about you, right, as a Nakoa ambassador in the way that you are, patron that you are, is the way you've taken your experiences and turned them into something really, really positive. Yeah. You coach somebody's son as well for football, which is good. So firstly, why don't we start? Tell us how you came in touch with Nakoa.
Okay, so basically it was Callum Best got in touch with me, and I think it might have been Piers or his mum got in touch with me and sent me an email. They knew about my story about my childhood. I think they read an interview I'd done where I'd let it be known about my parents being alcoholics. And then they asked me, they told me a bit about the charity, what they did for children and young people. And that's it. And I got asked to go and do they did a touring bus or something like that. This is a couple of years back. And then I did an appearance there. And then it was a follow-up from that. And they said, Callum's going to be down at the House of Parliament to do a talk. Would you be interested? And I was like, what? They want me to go down and talk at the House of Parliament? I was like, wow, that's a little bit big, and I'd have never even dreamt to have done anything like that. But yeah, I did because I believe in the charity. I think they do a fantastic job out there for people that are vulnerable and people that just need help and need a bit of guidance or anything more. So I went down, and that's when I met yourself. Had the chat to everybody in the House of Parliament, and I was like, wow. And it was the response from that was unbelievable. It really was, and that's where you kind of got the feel of what this is all about, and just what an impact it has on people's lives, what the charity Nakoa has on people's lives. So obviously, when I was asked to actually be a patron for it, I was like, yeah, 100%. It'd be an honor and a privilege to be a patron for Nakoa.
Yeah. Were you surprised by the reaction? How big 100%. The reaction was? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. I don't see everything that happens in my life. I just see it's in a little bubble and it's a little pocket. I still, when people, it happens with the job that I do. When people know who I am and shout my name and things like that, I think you're looking at me. I don't, because I just see me as I go to the gym, I train my fighters, go to a show, we work, I go home, I see my kids, see my missus. They're my little bubbles. I don't really look at it as though it's a big thing. It's only when you look back and you look back at the fights you've been involved with, and you look back and you see the things on TV, and you think, wow, that was really big. And then I'll work for Sky, and I'll still be excited and think, I can't believe I'm doing this. I go home at night and I'm laid in bed, I'm thinking, I can't believe I've just done that. Because these are all kind of things that I kind of always wished I could do, but I'll never happen to be. I always wish that I could do. And then it's like, I'm just doing it, So I don't see it as what I do is having such a big impact at the time. But then when you're getting messages off of people, and after I do a talk and things like that, and people get in touch with me and talking to me on a personal level about what they're going through and about the upbringings that they had or are having, and how they feel that just what I'm saying about my experiences has made an impact on their lives. That's massive. That's huge. That's bigger than anything I'm doing in boxing. That's bigger than any of that. You know, I'm up till, especially now in lockdown. It's always been a case where, you know, gradually, like once, twice a month, I get messages off of people that are in really, really dark places. But literally now it's like every week, and I'm on the phone and people are, I'm on messages and people are telling me about how desperate they are and how, you know, how things, they can't see a way out. And just to think that they don't know me and I don't know them, but to think that they've got nobody else to speak to. I was like that. They've got nobody else to speak to, so they reach out to me to, you know, to try and help them get through what it is they're getting, you know, whatever it is that they're struggling with. And I just think that's massive. That's unbelievable, you know. And so that's by far, you know, people can say what they want in boxing. It's so, you have the people that love you and you have the people that just absolutely hate you in boxing. That's how it is. But that kind of stuff away from the boxing, that's what really counts, because that's people's lives. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. And was it nervy when you first done it? Because I remember when you put, I think it was Boxing Social, right? The first video that went out, right? And yeah. I think it's one thing somebody like me, right, coming out and talking about my experiences. I'm just another bloke on the street, right? Like I'm trying to like get this right. But you won't like the word famous, but you're like a big name, and you're in like a very like you say, love or hate sport as well, right? So for you to come out and talk in the way that you did, there must have been some fear there of like, am I going to get stick for this?
I still am. I still feel like that. I'm not comfortable with it. I'm not comfortable with it. It's for years, and I mean decades, not years. You know, I'm 45 now. It's only just where I've started speaking about it more. I've dropped little hints before when somebody's just pressed the right button in an interview, but it's only now that I speak about it more. My past is something that I've always been ashamed of, and I always try to hide, because it's not nice and it's not something I'm particularly proud of. So I've always kind of like tried to hide it. But in the world that we live in today, with the struggles that people are having and the mental anguish that a lot of people, listen, the mental side of things, mental health, a lot of people label it as mental health, just people's living and people how they're coping with life has changed a lot compared to what it was when I was younger. It used to be, you're either in a good mood or a bad mood. You're either happy or you're not. But it's progressed, and I think the world's a certain way, but then it has add-ons, and the add-ons that everything's happening in life started with tech, social media, more publicity, more news channels, more TV channels, more chat shows, more where things are spoken about more, and where the microscope is on everything that you do. You know, I think people are feeling the pressure a lot more, and that's affecting how people cope with problems, cope with stresses, cope with life. Living expenses worse. You look at homelessness, everything. The stresses of life is just adding on to everything and everybody's life. So I think people are handling it the best they can, but you're seeing a lot more where people are struggling. And because more and more people are struggling, I now feel where I've got a platform where when people reach out and when people say like, oh, this is happening, that's happening, and they feel as though it's only them. They feel as though that nobody else is feeling the way that they do, so they can't speak to somebody because they won't understand. If they see somebody like me, I'm not the most intimidating of figures. I'm tiny, got no hair. You know, I'm not the best. I'm not the best. I'm not Brad Pitt or Will Smith or anything like that. So I'm not somebody that you look at and go, ooh, I'm quite like just normal geezer on the street. So if they look at me and think, well, he's had that, but look at his life now. He's been in that position where he didn't see a way out. He's been in that position where, because of what was happening around him as a kid, he was terrified. But he managed to stick with it, and look at his life now. So if you're in a deep hole right now and you can't see a way out of it, I was there, and I've had that. But I stuck with it, and I look at my life now, and my life's this. And so I've got a responsibility, because I have a platform where these people can see that. And I don't care now, whereas before I'd be, well, I don't pick, because all trolls are going to give me shit about it and give me stuff, give me grief about it, and it's going to be a nightmare, it's going to be embarrassing and stuff. But do you know what? It's powerful, because I'm getting messages off of people saying, listen, thanks for this chat. You've saved my life. Thanks for this chat. I didn't see a way out of it. Now, X amount of months later, I've took these steps, this, my life's changed. I don't care if you want to call me whatever you want to call me. If you're a boxing troll that is seeing this and sees it as a weakness, what I went through, or this, you're that, what that, I don't care, because the impact I'm making by speaking out, and I've already, it's more than one, but if I only helped one person since I started speaking about it, job's done. But that's all right. Job's done.
Yeah, and it is massive. It's massive because, like, I follow you, so I see your stuff that you do, right? I think I've been on live with you a couple of times, and a troll popped up, right? And at the time, I remember thinking, I didn't know what to do with it, just ignored it, right? And it was about you and not me. And I was thinking, oh my God, this is horrendous, right? Yeah. So I think that kind of stuff, I do like really recognize the risk that you take. Like, I've been on the end of trolling, but not to the kind of degree that I know that people like yourself get it, right? Like, I don't want to sort of hover on it too much, but when it does it ever get to you? There must be times when you read it and it gets.
Do you know what? People say, "Oh, just ignore it." You're a human being, so what makes us human is that we have emotions. So sometimes something can trigger us emotions. It's like you watch a film and all of a sudden it's a bit emotional. You think, oh, why? It's a film, it's not real life. But certain things can trigger emotions, but then something else might not trigger it. And sometimes you're just in that frame of mind. And this is why trolling is so destructive, because whoever you're trolling, you do not know where their mind is at that moment in time. And this is why, you know, I've said before, social media needs to do something about this, because you don't know what frame of mind they are. Just because you see them buzzing, laughing, smiling, you're on TV, whatever like that, doesn't mean that they're not struggling with certain things and they're not feeling bad at that time. And then they read something and it has a negative effect on them, and it triggers, you know. That's how. So sometimes, I'll see stuff. Not really about. Do you know what? I'm quite thick-skinned when it comes to about me, because I had it all my life. I've always been short, so I've always had grief about being short. When I was a kid, I was short. When I was an adult, I'm short. I'm 45 now. I've had a long time to deal with that, so I'm not bothered about that. The racist stuff's not nice, but again, I had that as a kid. So I get it. I just find it astounding that these days we're still in that situation. We're still in that situation where people think it's acceptable to say things that they do, or message people what they do. I kicked off once because they said something about my kids, about my daughter. As a dad, any dad is going to understand that. You can't then turn around and say, oh, you shouldn't react to me. Mate. Yeah. Again, I will go back to the point of what I said. We're human. We have emotions. If you've got no emotion and everything's under control, are you human, or are you just having an existence? Do you know what I mean? So does it affect me? Not a lot, but does it disappoint me? Yes, it does. Yeah. Particularly with like the good work that you clearly do, right? How bad things get for you, right? Because I think this is another thing, right? For anyone that kind of sees you, you are like passionate, but
before I kind of knew your story, etc., etc., you just seemed happy-go-lucky to me, right? You seem like amazing family life, etc., and all that stuff. And I think to a massive degree, that's the space you're in now.
Yeah.
But it couldn't have always been like that with what you experienced.
Oh God, no. As a kid, so how I relate to the charity and why the charity means a lot to me is because as a kid, I grew up with my parents being alcoholics. My dad was a placid, not a happy drunk. He was never really happy, but he was a placid drunk, and he wasn't aggressive. He'd just sit there quietly and just get drunk, and that's it. But my mum was a violent drunk, and she was a nasty drunk. And I used to remember, well, we had, my dad didn't have a job. He lost his job. And I remember we were skint. I had dinner tickets. I had holes in my trainers, like where your soles are flapping like that and water's just coming in. Mechanic at school. And me down trousers and stuff like that. I went out to go to hairdressers. My mum used to cut my hair. So I had it all. And then I would go shopping. We used to go to the Asda. And I would want a little toy, $1.99, and it'd be like, no, you'll have to wait until Father Christmas, see what Father Christmas brings you, or wait until your birthday. We're not allowed to have anything, and because we couldn't afford it. But then I'd go to the checkout with my mum and dad, and in the trolley, kid you not, and I don't drink, but these brands I remember. So you'd have a row of Teacher's whiskies, widthways. So you'd have a row of Teacher's whiskies, a row of Bell's Scotch whiskey. You'd have Gordon's gin, not gin and tonic, Gordon's gin, and then you have a bit of wine. And even as a kid, I would look at that and I would think, and I'd see price shooting up on I would think, you can't afford to let me have a little toy for $1.99, but you can afford to have all that. And I always resented that as a kid. And then, worse than that, was I'd be laid in bed at night, and if I heard the steps go, I'd be shitting myself, and there'd be a checklist in my head thinking, what have I done? What have I done? Because the slightest thing, if I didn't clean the house properly, if I didn't dust the ornaments properly, I would get the crap beat out of me, just whatever. And so yeah, I was in a bad place. I used to be in a really bad place as a kid. Really bad place, terrified all the time, and I generally didn't see a way out of it. And the reason why I left home was because I thought either I'll be dead or my mum's going to be dead.
Yeah. Just for the person that's asking, this will go on the grid. It will be saved, and then it goes on YouTube as well. So if you've missed the beginning, you can catch up. How old were you when you moved out?
15.
What? And you just went to live on your own?
I bunked at a friend's flat for a little bit, and then ended up at my grand's later.
Yeah, right. And
my gran, she kind of knew. She didn't know how bad it was, but for instance, I used to do paper rounds, and I'd be freezing, winter, freezing, soaked. I'd come in, and my gran was at our house once. My gran would be my dad's mum. So my mum and dad, my dad's English, my mum's Indian. So my dad's mum, she was at the house, and I came in, and I came next to the fire. I was freezing, as you would be, trying to warm up next to the fire. And my mum come in, she literally kicked me out of my way. And my gran saw it, said something. My mum kicked off at my gran, and it caused just a massive almighty row. So my gran saw what had go off, and every Christmas it'd kick off. When we have Christmas dinner, my mum would kick off. She'd have a few drinks, and then it'd just kick off. And every single Christmas, I'd be spoiled. Never had one good Christmas. I can't remember any good memories of Christmas at all as a kid. Because we was in lockdown, I've just had the first ever Christmas dinner at home as an adult since I left home. Because I've always refused to have Christmas dinner at home, because my memories of Christmas dinner at home are a nightmare.
Wow.
So my gran saw that. So when I ended up living at my gran's for a bit, until I got a place. And so my gran was the only one that took me in. She was the only one that really looked after me.
Do you think that really helped? Do you think that played like a big part in you being able to come through the other side in the way that you are?
Yes. But that came a little bit after. Like I said, I literally left home and I crashed at somebody's. and then after that, I crashed at somebody else's, and then I went to my grand's. But my grand's was the first like stable kind of environment that I had.
Yeah. And when did you like? I want to try and get to the point of where you started, I'm going to say like transform, right? To go from that hopelessness that you had, right, and not feeling like you had any way out. Was it the boxing? When did you walk into a boxing gym?
When I left, well, just before I left home, I started boxing, but I had to plead with, because I want to start boxing at 10. My mum would never let me, and I had to plead with her that it was only for a bit of fitness, only a bit of self defense, because I was getting bullied at school and everything like that. And then she found out that I was actually sparring and things like that, and I wanted to box, and then she kind of like put a ban on it, and then I left home, and then took up boxing properly. But being in the gym environment, being in the boxing gym, this is why people don't understand how big boxing is for mental health and for confidence and bringing kids through, is because that place there was my family. That place there were my friends. I didn't have friends. People that speak to you, but I didn't have friends. That boxing gym was a place for my friends. To this day, I only have real friends that are associated in boxing or football. But that's it. And that's where things started to change, because it's a more positive environment.
Yeah.
And you've got different races, colours, creeds, religions. You've got different ages there. You've got everything there. It's just a boiling pot.
Yeah.
And you just find a way to get in and get on, and you have that camaraderie, and then you just develop bonds. And so the confidence started growing there, but it took me years because if you've got to understand, if you've got a parent that's telling you that you can't do anything, you are not worth anything, you are not going to achieve anything, you can't do that, you can't do this, you're a waste of space, you're a mistake, all that kind of shit, it sinks in your head. If you have that growing up, that's what you think you are. I would walk to the ring as a fighter, as an amateur fighter, thinking, what are you doing? You're going to get smashed. You can't do this. Literally walking to the ring thinking, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. So when people want to say, oh, you're a coward or you're chicken or you're this or that, no, because I still did it.
Yeah.
So I pushed myself through it. I still did it. The fear that I had, because I thought, I'm gonna look like an idiot. I was never scared of getting hit. I was scared of looking like an idiot, because that's all I was told that I was gonna do. You get teased, you get picked on at school. It's not so much the pain of the moment. It's the embarrassment, because everybody sees what's happening. The girls that see you getting mugged off and being made to look like an idiot, and everybody laughing at you. The embarrassment. It's that kind of thing that gives you the fear and chips away at your mentality. The physical fear, physical pain for me, you get over. Kid hits you in the face, you get over it. The mental fear of walking from one science block to the other science block, fearing what's going to happen in between that's what affects you. The mental fear of when you're hearing footsteps on your stairs coming upstairs, and you're thinking, what have I done? What have I done? What have I done? And then the relief when she goes into her bedroom. That is what damages people's minds. And that took me a long time to get over. And I can honestly say I never really started being more positive and being more taking control of my life as such until I found out I was going to be a dad with my daughter. Right. And then I thought, I've got to get my shit together. I've got to now stop wishing and hoping. I've got to start making, and that's what I kind of did.
Yeah. Do you think that was that like tenacity that you're talking about, right? Because, by the way, I totally relate to that. I've always been like, physical pain, I just think to myself, is nothing, right? It's nothing compared to some of the fear that I've experienced of where's my mum downstairs when it's fighting and all of that sort of stuff, right? Do you think, because what you do, what I really like what you do this, like, I get a little bit stuck in my feelings if I'm not careful, yeah. And I'm like, I get stuck in like, this is hard, this is horrible, I hate the ways that I feel. You have a way of drawing the strength out of it. So when you knew that your daughter was going to be born, were you still boxing or was you a trainer then?
2019. No, I was a trainer.
You was a trainer.
Yeah.
And so what changed in you when you say get your shit together? What did that look like?
I just became obsessed with it. So I lived in a place that it wasn't bad, but it was a rough street, and I would watch kids walking down. And I always look at things long term, and I looked at the kids that were walking down the street and looking at how the weeds, people's outside the houses would start letting the weeds grow and things like that, and you start seeing a road start getting overgrown. And I think in 5 years' time, this ain't gonna be a nice place. And it weren't a nice place. It was in, you know, in not the best area of Sheffield, but I thought there's no way my daughter's going up here. And that's all it was. And I was obsessed, and I just started changing things up, like going at it. Really, I can't explain to you. My life is work. Fit my kids around it. When I'm not physically doing stuff with my kids, work. My work is physical in the gym, mental, thinking about what we're going to do in the gym, thinking about things I need to work out with my fighters, managing on the phone, studying opponents, phone, watching YouTube. So my mind's always on the go. And so I don't switch off the TV until 2 o'clock in the morning. But I've got 24 hours in a day, so I will fit everything I need to fit in. You know, I coach my little boys' football team, so I fit that in. I'll fit what I need to fit in because 24 hours in a day. So I will do that, and that is the work ethic that I really went with, and I just took. I always had a great work ethic in the gym as a fighter because I knew I had to. I was determined. So stubborn and determined to prove everybody wrong, to make it right. But then it comes to a point where you have to stop trying to, and I think this is where the pressure that I put on myself as a fighter and as a young adult, it was about proving everybody wrong. Build your own life so you're happy. Forget about proving everybody else wrong. Build your own life so you're happy. I remember the moment when my daughter was born, and I was just like, wow, that's me. My wife, but that's me. I've created that. Everything that went before didn't matter. Only thing that mattered then was everything that comes. Everything that comes. I can either just let shit happen to me, which will affect her life, or I can make shit happen and make her life a great life, or the best life I can. And I didn't know how to be a dad, but I was never nervous about being a dad. I was people like worrying and stressing about becoming a dad. I was never worried about it. I was the most laid back going into it. He said, "Oh, baby's due soon." Oh, this is. I was never nervous about it. I was never worried about it. Considering that everything that I feared about walking to a ring to fight, considering everything that I feared about day-to-day life, the biggest thing in the world that could happen to me, and I weren't nervous about it. Do you know why? Because I knew what not to do. So all I had to do was make her feel the exact opposite to how I felt as a kid. I'll be a good dad. That's all I've ever done. That's all I've ever done. It's not rocket for me. It's not rocket science. I've learned how to be a dad by doing the exact opposite of my parents. My dad would never speak to me. Nice guy, but would never speak to me. I'd try and make conversation. How's your day been at work, Dad? All right. That's it. That's it. My mum, she was just evil. So pretty easy. That's self-explanatory. Just don't do what she does. But with your dad, you haven't got a relationship. So I make sure that my kids have got a great relationship with me.
Yeah.
I couldn't speak with my dad, but I make sure that my kids can speak to me about anything. Yeah. Anything. I used to go and play football look around outside at pitch, praying my mum and dad would come. Never.
Mm.
They came once. They came to one game in my whole life. One game. I look at my little boy, I'm there every time. Every time. If my daughter's ever done anything with music or whatever, I'm there. When she used to do, when she used to have a little bit park as a tree in school play and stuff like that, I make sure I'm there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I've only ever done the opposite to what my parents did. So that's why it's been a doddle.
Yeah. Have you ever struggled with it? Ever struggled with being a dad?
No.
From the standpoint of what you
boy
experienced. Yeah. Mate,
Yeah,
I've got
boys.
a 15-year-old daughter. Don't worry about that. Yeah. I sometimes have to take the key upstairs with me to bed, mate, because I'm worried about her going out at night. But like, you've never had a moment where you thought I'm being like them or anything like that?
No.
You do.
No.
Do you drink at all?
No. Like the last drink I've had was after WBA.
Yeah. Which one?
It's like
the second one.
I think the first one. I think it was the first one with the Skylot. The second one, it was just relief. I just wanted to eat and get back. But yeah, I've had, when I was 15. So the last, in fact, I'd be younger than 15. The last year or so of living at home, I used to sneak out and I used to drink. I used to drink beer. And I just used to drink because it take my mind, things were that bad at home. It took my mind away. And then I got into boxing. As soon as I started boxing, I stopped drinking. That was it. And like I said, literally, if we win a world title fight or a big fight, then I might have a drink, but that's it.
That is like, but that's massive. That's like a massive statement, yeah. To say that you started drinking, yeah, getting on the beer, and you got a foot firmly in that path, really. And then it's when you walked into the gym, saved your life, really.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not even that's not an overreaction. It's literally what happened. Saved your life.
You see, the only friends that I had at that age, they were older than me and they were driving. So when I'd go out round to Paul's house to do some weights or whatever, we'd be knocking about in cars, and he would go to a pub called the Travellers down the road from me, and then I'd be drinking and trying to forget shit. I would drink quite a lot, and then I'd have to put my face on when I walk through the door, as kids do, and then go upstairs. That's it. But when I got into boxing, do you know what? I watched people like Johnny Nelson in the gym, and I saw the shape they were in, and I saw how hard he worked, and I just copied that work ethic. That's it. Copied that work ethic, and I literally changed my life overnight because I wanted a better life.
Yeah. So because I know we've probably got some young boxing fans in here, and I think one just wrote in there saying, what advice would you give to a young person if they were like, say 15, and they want to get into the boxing game, but they're knocking about, having a bit of a drink and that?
Everything in life comes down to choices and comes down to paths. If you look back at everybody's life, look back at everything that they do, you're always defined by choices that you make. And you can either make a choice that's going to have a positive impact on your life or a negative. You can't just turn around and say to yourself, oh, my life's this because of this. I'm a product of my environment. Listen, if I'm a product of my environment, yes, I am. But I use that environment to turn into a positive way. Because if I could have just been your standard product of an environment, then I would be on the booze, I'd beat the shit out of my kids, and I wouldn't be a particularly nice person.
Yeah.
But I chose. If you want to box, if you want to change your life, you have to make the choices that are going to do that. And I'm not saying it's an easy choice. When I went to Brendan Ingles' gym, it took a lot of courage for me to walk through them doors. I walked through them doors, I looked to the right, I saw a guy squatting with a barbell. I'd never seen anyone do that in my life. I didn't know what they do. He just looked at me. I thought he was looking at me and growling. They weren't. He was growling because they were pushing a barbell up. But I shit myself, turned around and walked back out of the gym. I thought, I can't do that. I can't do it. I
Mm.
can't do that. I can't do that. And I stood outside the gym for about 15 minutes before I walked back in. But I, I had a battle in my head. I often have battles in my head. Two little voices. We all have it. One that says do it, one that says don't. That do it could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. This was a good thing. Do it. Walk in that gym, change your life.
Yeah.
Don't is saying bottle it. You ain't got enough courage to walk in that gym. Do it. If it's positive, do it. Fight the demon, walk in. That's what I did. If it's a bad thing, I'm gonna take that drug. I'm gonna drink that drink when I've got a problem. Don't, because it's a negative. You've still got the same choice. You've still got the same voices in your head.
Mm.
Choose the positive side. And if you choose the positive side more than the negative side, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have a decent life.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's, incredible. And what a lot of people are saying, I don't know if you saw that Hillary, our CEO, Piers' mum, has been in here saying what, inspiration you are. Piers has been saying it. Yeah. A lot of people have been saying, look, there's a lot of inspirational stuff coming through.
Do you know what? I'll be honest with you. I try not to read comments because when I'm talking, because I'm that used to getting bad comments a lot. So I kind of I don't read everyone.
No, and I get it because I remember, I don't know if it was your live or a live we done on it. I can't remember, but I just remember, I don't even remember what the comment was, but it wasn't even racist or majorly bad or anything like that. And I was sat there and I was looking at it and I was thinking, I don't know what to do. Because I proper remember how horrible I felt, and it wasn't even at me. It was aimed at you. So I get it, but a lot of people, particularly at NACOA, you're massively, massively appreciated. I think particularly because you're a man that comes from that space. I proper remember seeing it on Boxing Social when you did it. I think I told you at the House of Commons because I was shouting my wife. I was going, Dave Coldwell's one of us. First of all, she said, who? And I was like, the boxing. And then she goes, the little guy that does Sky Sports. I said, yeah, that's him. That's him. I said, he's one of us. But it's to see the stuff that you do, right? And the way that you're willing to go against all of that, and still put yourself on the line and help and support NACOA is incredible. You've helped us to reach people that, even a lot of people that would have been in this life.
That makes me proud. That's big.
It's massive. It's massive. And I don't think you probably won't even be able to comprehend it, right? Because you're down to earth, genuine person anyway. So you probably just don't look at that stuff necessarily in that way. But you took us to an audience that we wouldn't reach. Do you know what I mean? There's not people within that space, and it's massive, mate. It's genuinely massive. There's a question I ask everyone on these lives. I'm going to ask you it. I don't know how awkward it makes you feel. No, it wouldn't actually. You'll answer it well. If you could speak to the 10-year-old boy that you were, what would you say to him?
Everything's going to be all right. Sometimes you just need that. You know what? It sounds simple and it sounds stupid, but I would say 13 to 15 were the worst years. That because it takes a process. You handle things. You just think that's how it is. That's how it is. But then things start getting worse and worse. The longer that your family's skint, the more money pressures, the more the drink, the more they put onto the kids, the more the kid feels it. So I would say 13 to 15. My last 3 years at home were the worst years. And they're the years where I struggled bad and where there was time. I remember once we used to have junior. Do you remember junior aspirin?
Yeah.
Right. So for kids.
I
don't even take paracetamol now, so I don't know about. But I remember junior aspirins, and they were tablets for kids, headache or whatever. And I once took quite a few of those. I was I couldn't hack it, and I took quite a few of those, and then I shit myself, and I went downstairs, And my dad was sat in his chair like this, and I'd come outside of him, and you know, when you're trying to pluck up courage to say something to your dad, and you're like, um, and this is how ignorant my dad was to everything. I just said to him, I said, "Oh, what happens if you take too many junior aspirins?" He went, "Not a lot." He says, "You just got really, really bad stomachache." So okay, I shit myself. I ran upstairs and I made myself sick.
Wow.
Yeah. So when in the times when I did feel like that, I would say that sometimes just somebody saying to you, "It's going to be all right," because you don't think that it is going to be all right. You think this is it, and you do. You genuinely think this is it. You know, you think that is this my life? Is this how it's going to be? And so you give up. And that's when sometimes just, mate, trust me, it's going to be all right. Somebody, you don't, this is why, so again, social media is so destructive, but it can be so positive. Take away the destructive element. Because if you're feeling like that, and then you get a message through saying you're not worth this, you're that, you blah, blah, you're this, you're that, and it triggers the thing that you feel defensive about, the thing that you feel vulnerable about, that can just tilt you over. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
And so, yeah, I would, because there were two things that kept me going. You know, when you're playing with your cars and on a car fit, and I used to pretend that when I'm older, I would have a nice family, and people would know who I am. That's all it was. That's all that kept me going. Because then I would think to myself, no, Dave, don't. Because what happens if you get through this and you have a wicked life? What happens if? Just what happens if? I didn't think that was gonna happen, but what happens if that's gonna happen? You know, like people say, oh, I daren't take that job because what happens if I'm no good? They look at it that what happens if is a negative. My understanding of my life was that shit, that my life was going to be shit. But what happens if it's not? And that little what happens if is why I'm like happy today, because I've got what I wanted. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what people say.
Mate, I don't think you realise like the power in some of the things that you say. I genuinely don't think like.
That's just me. That's just what it is.
That is what is so incredible about the way that you tell your story. That story about the aspirin and going down to your dad.
You know? My dad never had a clue. My dad, do you know what? I was 20. I remember I was 21, and I'd come to see my gran, and my dad was there, and he was sat in the chair, and he was drunk, and I couldn't believe it. He actually said to me, he said, he missed me, because I'd left home, obviously, at 15, and he said he missed me, and he told me he loved me, and he said to me, why don't you come home? Why don't you ever come home? Why? And I was like, you know why? And he was like, he didn't know. I was like, what? And then I said to him, I told him about him. I said, my mum. I said, what she used to do? And he was like, he didn't know. It didn't know to the extent of what it was. And I was gobsmacked. And at 21, that's when he said to me for the first time, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't know. And I was like, you didn't know that. But he did. But he just wasn't aware of it. He wasn't aware of it. You know? I remember my mum would be, she'd blame me for my dad being an alcoholic. And she'd blame me for it. And she was a touched woman, man. To this day, she don't think she's done anything wrong. To this day, she doesn't think she's done anything wrong.
Yeah, and I think that kind of denial runs quite deep. Even like my mum, I'm like close with my mum, yeah, because it was my dad who was a bad alcoholic. My mum will still say, "You don't like." I'll say stuff, and she'll say, "You don't remember your dad? You were too young." And I'm like, "No, I just told you
Yeah.
that I remember this, yeah. And she was like,
Yeah.
you don't remember it. And so
Yeah.
like that, like even that hurts. Because
Yeah.
I like, and you know, when you say about driving around in the car as a kid and thinking I'll be
Yeah.
older and people will know who I am.
Yeah.
I remember so clearly being in a school lesson and the subject was what do you want to be when you're older, and people saying fireman, policeman, all this kind of stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking my answer is I just want to have kids and not be an alcoholic. That's all I
Yeah.
wanted. I
Yeah.
literally did. I used to think I don't care about anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I succeeded on having loads of kids. I struggled with the alcoholic bit at the beginning, but I got there in the end. See, that's why I kind of wish that I had something like boxing, yeah, and that's why I think your story is so powerful because you at 15 you made that choice, and I'm not saying it weren't difficult for you, and you didn't go down those difficult kind of roads and paths to an extent, but to have built the life that you've built, do you know what I mean?
I'm very all or nothing. I remember, and I have got, I think it's probably, I don't know, it's probably with my environment. I have got quite an addictive sort of personality where I remember as a kid, I would do the paper rounds, but I would always have chocolate, and I would spend money on chocolate, like Twixes, Mars bar, like all the time. I was almost like I'm an addicted, and still to this day, if I have one, I want another. Whereas if I don't have any, then I can just shut it off. It's not a problem. I have to have a little battle with myself, and my battle is, well, is it if I'm out, or what am I going to eat? Is it worth me getting fat for? No, it's not. Well, I won't do it then. If I have it, then it's like I want another. So if I hadn't have gone into boxing and I'd carry on drinking at 15, 100%, my life would be an absolute train wreck.
Yeah, you'd be bang on the drink. You'd be as successful at drinking as you are at boxing training, right?
Yeah, because so when I was boxing, even when I started off as amateur, I lost my first 8 amateur fights, but I kept going because I wanted to do it. I wanted to get there. I'm very, very stubborn, and it's like an addiction. I've got to crack it. I've got to do it, and it keeps me going. And no matter what setbacks I'll have, I'll keep going. But same as I know for a fact I would have gone down that path.
When did you switch to training from boxing?
1996, I started training fighters.
Right.
I just did a favour for Brendan. I used to run his second gym and just train kids and brought kids through. And then one kid ended up turning professional. And then I got my own gym in 2000, and just that was it, the full time then.
Yeah, that's when you went full time, is it? Because
so I was full time as a coach, yeah.
As a coach, yeah. Because I'd imagine a lot of people look at boxing because they see, I don't know, Anthony Joshua on the telly. They just think that everyone in boxing is rich, yeah. But that's not the case. It's not the case.
I got out of my. I did an interview not long ago for The Athletic, or it might have been Boxing News, where I said it for the first time really. I came out of my overdraft at 40 years old.
Wow.
I'd never been out of my overdraft from leaving home and from getting through my life. I'd never been out because everything, a penny I'd made, I'd put back into boxing, trying to chase this dream, trying to keep going. Gym rent, this, that, and other, putting on shows, keep my fighters working, everything. I didn't come out of my overdraft until I was 40 years old. I'm 45 now. So.
Oh wow, yeah.
So I'm not. It's not a case of I have this great lifestyle, blah 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 blah. No, it takes however big your dream is and however different it is to the life that you've got now. It takes a lot to get there, and there's a process and the steps it takes you to get there. It's not just going to happen overnight unless you're very, very lucky. And so sometimes it might mean that you think, I can't do this anymore. I need to give up on it. But that's that moment when you've got to realize how much do you want it. Yeah. Will you regret it if you say no and you jack it in, you go and get 9 to 5 and do whatever, and then you see somebody else that you knew doing what you want to do, and then will you always then say, I should have, I could have, but you didn't. I don't ever want to be a should have, could have, but I didn't. I want to be that guy that if I don't do it, that was on me. I give it me everything. I tried, I did it. I tried it. It didn't happen. So I tried it as a fighter, didn't happen. As a coach, I wanted to get every title as a coach, British, Commonwealth, European, and world titles. I've done it. I've done that. So I gave it what I give all through the years. I've been in boxing 30 years now. I've achieved what I wanted to achieve. So when people say, oh, you're crap, you can't do this, you can't. Well, I did what I wanted to do. I've done it. So I've got 2 more goals in my head now that drives me on. Because I hit one goal, I need to get another. So I completed my target, but I've set 2 bigger targets. So I have to reach them. So I will always work to reach that. And that's how I work. That's how my mentality is.
Do we get to know what those targets are?
Yeah, I've told my fighters. I want a fighter. When you have a list of pound for pound fighters, I want a fighter in that list. And then when I get that fighter in that list, I want a fighter that's undisputed, because I've been at the absolute top, but didn't manage to get on that step. When Bellew fought Usyk, it was for every belt in boxing. That was for the undisputed. So I've been in an undisputed fight. That's close. That when I was sat at that press conference with Tony, and I'm looking at every single belt you can win in boxing, he's on that table. I thought, shit, this is the absolute pinnacle of this sport. I can't get no higher than this. I thought, how have I got to this point? The next step is I want a winner of that. So I want that. And then when that happens, it's been close, but when that happens, I might happen in 5 years, might happen in 10 years, might happen in 20 years, 30 years, I don't care. While I'm breathing, while I'm living, I won't be satisfied until that happens. When that happens, then I'll walk away from boxing.
You will walk away then. You won't set like a target of having 2.
Yeah, because then I'll want another one. Because that's how it is. I know it is. Yeah. I've said it, but yeah, probably.
It'll come. Look, your life story says one thing. I think it says that the reality is that that's probably going to happen. So I might even get myself down the betting shop and. Mate, we're nearly out of time. I think it kicks me out after an hour. But
cool.
Mate, this is genuinely, like, I know I've already said it, like, within this kind of conversation, but what you do, and the way that you speak just so honestly and just say it just comes out. The things that you come out, that story about the aspirin, and like it really hit home when you said about driving in the car and stuff like that. That will, particularly for people that have experienced the things that we've experienced, to see somebody in your position saying those things, like, is immeasurable, genuinely immeasurable, mate. So I know for me, I'm massively grateful for what you do for us. I haven't even mentioned, by the way, what you've done with the masks as well. In the whole, every mask that you sold has gone to charity. You got yours, yeah? I seen you after. Do they make you wear it over the top of another one when you're in there? Because you got to wear about 5 masks, then you when you're in the corner.
Visor, masks, all sorts. Yeah.
So, mate, it, like, you know what you've done. Like Hillary, that's us. You know, Hillary Pierce is my CEO. She says you've opened door and saved lives. So huge, thank you.
Thank you, appreciate that. Listen, I'm proud to be a patron in the colour, really.
Yeah, and it means the world to us. It means the world to us. We're a sort of small charity, although we're growing because of people like you. And I think, we can't thank you enough. We wouldn't survive without the things like the masks and stuff like that doing that for us. So, and the way you just rang us up and was like, "Do it. You can have the money. We'll sell them and you can have the money." It's just, like I say, it's immeasurable, mate. It's immeasurable. So, is there anything you want to add before I let you go? You've got a few thousand press-ups to get done before tomorrow.
Not really. I've just it's just, I know during lockdown, my thoughts are with people during lockdown, that haven't got that escape. Kids that can't just get off to school and have a break from stresses and strains of having what they're going through at home. I worry about those sort of people, and if anyone's out there that's watching right now that's got any worries, that feels as though they're in trouble and they can't cope, get in touch with NACOA. You know, that's what we're there for. Speak to somebody and dig in, because it's not going to last forever, and then life will turn a corner, and you know, you will have that life that you want to have.
Mate, that's just the soundbite that I needed at the end as well. Perfect. We can ask, mate, you're an absolute legend. Honestly, genuinely a legend. A couple of people have asked, this does go on the NACOA, it goes on our grid, so stays on our grid. So, mate, appreciate everything you do, and we'll do this again sometime, I'm sure. And I think I'll see you next week as well during COA week. So
yeah,
legend.
Nice one.
Thanks, mate. Take care.
Thanks,
Good luck
man.
the weekend
Cheers.
as well, mate.
Thank
You're a
you
top
very
guy.
much.
Thanks,
Cheers,
mate.
mate. See you later on. See you later.